Good morning. Wow, it's a nice, cool, and frosty morning this morning. It's about 14 degrees out here. We got some snow, I don't know, 4 inches or something like that. Nice and cold now. Everybody was saying, boy, it's unseasonably warm. And I looked it up to see what temperature's supposed to be, and it wasn't nothing different. It's about the same. So the weather is what it is. But we had some issues there on just breaking out the old long-barreled Flintlock pistols and taking a look at them. And I watched that video back, and I seen where the old 1733 Navy, I believe it worked a couple times like it's supposed to, and then all of a sudden it did that jumping into half-cock thing. That was pretty frustrating. I was like, man, this thing, it's not even safe to shoot. And I'll tell you what it did have. It had a hair trigger, that's for sure, if you could even keep the hammer back. And it didn't do that for a while. It just progressively got worse the more I tried to figure out what the issue was. Because I don't really know anything about them things. But I thought to myself, I believe the good Lord Jehovah in heaven will let me figure it out. I do believe. If it's to be figured out by me, that'll be the way it'll happen for sure. So I thought about it and tried to figure it out. Watched a bunch of videos or everything I could find on YouTube about it. See if I could figure out what's going on with that thing. Because I was really bummed about that. I tried playing around with adjusting the screws and stuff, and I think that might have worked on a couple of the other ones because some of the parts were just a hair out of alignment or something, and I loosened it up and then tightened them back down. They worked themselves back in to where they were supposed to be. And it started working because I don't see where, from what I know now, where loosening and tightening screws like that is going to be where the difference is, other than maybe it'll let some stuff maybe realign up or something of that nature, because those things are interesting. But I thought, well, heck, I've got the infantry 1733 with it's got the brass butt where the Navy's got the silver butt on the handle. So I'll just take it out and compare them. So that's what I did. I took the one out of the other 1733. It's the exact same lock, that JL carrier. So I thought, well, maybe we can figure it out. We look at one that works, and we look at one that don't work, and see, if it's going to happen for us. So I took them 2 locks, and I checked them out, and looked them over real good. I got 2 identical locks, and the only difference between them is one works, and one does not. That was it. There's no difference. Everything else is the same. So I'm thinking, wow, okay, everything's the same. So when you first cock them, they got a pretty stiff cock to the safety notch, to the half cock position. And then to the last full cock position, they don't really have a lot going on there. But the one that wasn't working even had less. So I thought, well, there's something about that, but I don't know for sure. So I tried to get some divine inspiration to figure it out. And I'd watch a bunch of videos, and I got an idea on maybe trying to figure it out. Well, I don't realize that this idea is what is going to control lock timing, because you hear about timing and all that kind of stuff in the lock, and how fast are they or how slow they are and stuff like that. So I don't know how you could time it. The only thing I know that keeps time is a watch. So we're in pretty bad shape when it comes to that. But I figured out that there's a sear in there. It's a little round device where the notches are, where the front notch toward the barrel is the half cock, and the back notch is the full cock. So mind you, if you could get this dude to cock any at all and stay back, it had a hair trigger. I think you could smack the side of it and set it off. So I didn't know what to do. I took it apart about a dozen times, trying to figure out what's going on, and then I put it back together. I mean, it was so easy to take apart and put it back together. There was nothing to it. I did it, I don't know how many times, and I ended up whacking my thumb with the flint and got a nice bruise on there. Tried to turn my thumbnail into the prison steel part of the darn pistol. That was an ouchie. And then I ended up, the trigger spring, that thing is sharp on the edge, and I ended up cutting myself when I'm poking a hole in me. So that's pretty sore. But it'll all heal up. And I kept playing with it. I had my thumb wrapped up in a towel. No, not a towel, but paper towel. Trying to do it. So, well, guess what? It turned out pretty good. I ended up getting it fixed. So I'm not trying to make a long story too long, but maybe I am. Who knows? Let's hope not, eh? One story too long is one story too many, right? So if you take the sear and you look at it and you hold it up and you got your two notches in there, and the notches are going to be pointing to the back of the pistol, and you go up there to the second notch, which is the full cock position on that. What I did, I didn't have any files or nothing, so I did it modernly. I got a little Dremel tool that I bought at Harbor Freight that I never used for nothing. Got one of them little sanding wheels, and I went in there and I deepened the notch just a little bit. I mean, I didn't want to hardly take nothing off of it. And then I went a little deeper on the full cock notch, just a hair, give it a little more edge, and then I kind of smoothed out and tried to round it a little bit, because it was kind of had a little bit of a lump there. So basically what it was doing, and I don't know why it happened to it, but when you pull the trigger, the trigger pin slides around the sear, and of course, you know, that's what sets it off. Well, it's the travel between the notch for the full cock and the sear is so close that it just goes right on into half cock. It doesn't really bounce it away fast enough for it to jump over the half cock notch, is basically what it's doing. So when I made it a little bit deeper, and I mean, this dude had a hair trigger pull. I mean, a hair trigger. So when I made that a little bit deeper, 15 degrees now, good heavens. What happened was it made a little harder pull, so it pulled it away from the sear a little bit long. Gosh, I don't know, couldn't have been a nanosecond longer. And it was just enough to make it jump over the half-cock safety position, so it started working just fine. So I was happy with that, let me tell you. I was tickled pink, I tell you. He's tickled pink, he was. He was tickled pink. So, very happy that I was able to get that fixed. So, now I got to take it out and shoot it. I don't know about 15-degree weather going out and messing with that. I'll get some frostbite, right? That's just too cold. I had some nice days to go out and do some flintlock shooting, but I didn't get around to it. So, go out and shoot the breeze and everything. Goop around. And I've had a cold and all that kind of stuff, so I've been trying not to really get out and stress anything too much, because I've tried to get over it. So, by the time I get back on my feet pretty good, the kids will have it again, and they'll pass it back to me, and I'll be down again, because they can get over it like in a week or so. And heck me, it might just work on me for a couple months. Who knows? I have a heck of a time getting rid of it. So that kind of dampers your mood to get out and do stuff. It's like, oh man, I just ain't got it. Oh, I don't know what to get any worse, especially when you got, you know, some coughing and respiratory stuff messing with you. There's a lot of bad stuff going on with that in the world today. So, especially when you get older, you got to watch out for that kind of stuff. But yeah, we had a lot of fun showing our musket, you know, our pistols there, and looking at them and stuff. And it's always fun to check them out when they're working good and everything. It's a complete bummer when they're not. But I don't know. explained kind of what they did to them on the, when you buy one and you get it from Access Military Heritage. It's going to have they go in there and they drill and hollow out the breech plug a little bit, back far enough that when you drill your touch hole, you can drill through the barrel and in through the plug and into the barrel to get your touch hole drilled, because you're going through the plug too. So they do that for you, and they ping the spot where the touch hole's supposed to go. So basically, you just gotta get your drill press and carefully put your drill on there and go real slow, and take your time, and you'll feel it when it drops through and opens her up. You want to try to do that in one continuous slow motion, so you don't come out of the hole and have to go back in again. Because if you have to go back in again, sometimes you might egg shape the hole. You got to watch for that. So I guess if you clamped it down real good where it couldn't move or nothing, you might avoid that. To get a little bit of an egg shape. But you've seen the videos that where I've went out and shot them and stuff, and it seemed to work pretty good. I got some. No, you've probably heard me mention from another place there in Canada called Historical Twist, and his plugs are just, they're in there. They're not hollowed out or anything, so you can get to the center of the flash pan. So what I did with those are the first ones I got, because I don't know what to do. And what I did is I took a steel rod and went down in there and found the top of the breech plug, and then I marked it with tape. And this is like it's not a coat hanger piece of metal, it's like a steel rod. It's nice and straight, and it's pretty hard stuff. And woo, getting starting to yawn. What's going on here? Oh, you run through sleepy time. Well, I'm getting really tired, eh? I have no time for that. Right? So anyway, it goes down, and I put a piece of tape on there, and I precisely get the distance between the end of the barrel and to where the end of the breech plug is, and I slide that rod down there. And I had a couple of them that were okay. They don't have any, they're not inset into the breech plug, so they're not lining up, unfortunately. Right in the middle of the pan, they're off a little bit, and so I ended up just drilling them as close as I could to it, and I got into the breech plug and just put a little line in there, which is, not bad. It was pretty good. But the problem is, if you would have took that and had the touch hole in it, you could have dished out your pan exactly where it needed to be. But since it didn't have no touch hole, there's no ping mark, there's no nothing, it was a little bit forward on the top, kind of top and up forward on the pan, so it's not even down the pan and stuff. But it's gone off pretty good every time. I haven't really had any trouble with it as far as not going off. So, and that's the thing that counts when you're playing with them. You want them to go off every time. I had that Hawkins percussion pistol I got from online there. It didn't have no ramrod, no front sight, and no butt plate. So that was it. So I got it, and I ended up finding the ramrod on eBay, but it's too short. You can't use it. But it's a nice little ramrod. Fits it perfect. It's for Hawkins, but it ain't long enough. It ain't for that one. It's for a shorter barreled one than that guy. And then the front sight I found, and it just slides in. I don't know if they call that a dovetail or whatever. You can just slide it in and slide it out on that. So a friend of mine told me, he said, well, you put that on there, just take some fingernail polish and put on it, and then put it on there, then that'll dry and it'll stay on there. So I tried that. I had a pin come out, or a little screw come out of my powder horn, and it was letting the nozzle fall apart, the safety nozzle. So I screwed that in, and it just keep working itself loose. So I put a little fingernail polish on it, and it seems to be locked in now. No problem there. So that's always a good thing to remember. If you got a loose screw somewhere on something and it won't tighten up, put a little fingernail polish on it. That's what I did with them caps that I put on them on the butts of the pistols where the screws were, and I put them little brass caps on there. I put a little fingernail polish on there, and it's because I was afraid they'd come unscrewed, because some of them only got like a half a turn or something. So I was really worried about that happening. So I did that, and I had to take one off because I thought I was going to do some working on one, and I changed my mind. I figured probably taking that, because the butt plate didn't just up and come loose. It's like got a little wood putty in it and stuff. So I thought, well, I better leave that alone, because the little ding is going to be half as bad as if I can't get that thing, back on the handle right, where it's locked in like it is. It's probably a bad idea to take it off, I would say. So I didn't do it. Oh, goodness. But I had to take a piece of duct tape and wrap around that, and then take a pair of adjustable pliers, like channel locks or something like that, but a little tiny pair. No. Actually, I used a regular pair of pliers, and I just put them in the one notch where they don't close all the way, and was able to get on there and just give it a little turn. It broke right loose, no problem getting it off there. So, but like I said, the butt plate was like, it's on there, so I'm like, forget it. It's not that big a deal. What you looking for, Edward? Oh, I like perfection. Yeah, well, you better get you a better job then. That's for dang sure. Maybe 2 or 3 jobs if you want perfection, because that's the way you're going to be able to afford it, right? So, yep. But anyway, you know what the odds are of finding an original butt plate for one of them things? I don't know how old that thing is. Well, I don't know. I just needed one, and whammo, found one on eBay. It's original butt plate, so I put it on there. Then I put a couple of them little caps on there, them little brass caps over those screws. Now the screws, if you get a little bigger cap than what I got, it'll fit them screws better, but some of them screws were a little bit big for the cap, so I ended up taking them over on the grinder and trimming them down a little bit. But they still work good. I think the little brass caps look pretty cool on there. The 1733s already had caps on them when I got them, so, and they were big ones. You can get them in different sizes. They ain't too expensive. Just kind of a little more decorative or whatever. So, but yep, I was a tickled feller when I got that locket working. I never dreamed I'd be able to do stuff like that, but apparently somebody blessed me to be able to figure it out, right? With some help. Now, I'm not going to say I could have did it on my own. I'm going to tell you there's some good folks on YouTube that showed some lock stuff. Apparently I was able to put the picture together and figure out what was needed to get it to work. So, because I certainly didn't want to ruin it, not knowing what you're doing. But it is kind of an integral mechanical device, that's for sure. So, I was tickled pink, I tell you. Oh, goodness. I'm tired today, as usual. But, that was it, like 30 days till spring or something like that. It'll be starting getting green again. I always liked the spring and the fall. It used to be my favorite seasons for the most part. Never was a real happy summer person. I mean, summer's all right, but then winter. I used to kind of like winter, but I'm not a fan of it as you get older. So, it kind of loses its appeal. Cold weather, yuck, right? Whoa, Edward, you got to roll down the window. So you can stay awake. You're yawning. You're trying to do a video and yawn at the same time, right? Wake up! Yeah. But, yes, sir. Something else. But overall, with everything that I've picked up and stuff, I've had some real good fortune as far as them being in decent condition and everything working pretty good. I mean, I've got a few things there that It's like, kind of a bummer, but you'll have that. I think the 1728 French infantry with the cow foot stock and having them cracks in it, which I swear wasn't there, but I think they might have had some wood putty in those and covered them up good. And a lot of times people make a gun, they break the wood and then they splint it or put it back together. Well, the trick to that is if you're making your own Kentucky long rifle or something that I've seen, is one of the first things you do is inlet that barrel, and that barrel ends up being like a stabilizer rod for when you're sanding it down and everything, and that way you don't end up breaking the wood, because it's got that for a brace. Because boy, they get them wood on some of those so lean that it wouldn't be hard to break it. It's kind of scary to take them apart. Those traditions are a little scary with their wood, is because it's pretty small up there on the end. Where we at now? Still at 15 degrees. I didn't like 15 degrees, but I don't mind it compared to 15 degrees below. I'll take 15 degrees above anytime, right? I think the coldest I can ever remember ever being out here was one year it got like 27 below zero. And I think that was the coldest I can remember. I can't forget that because I started my Jeep up and it was so cold it never got oil pressure and ended up blowing up the motor. So I wished I hadn't started that thing. It was too cold for it. It was one of them 2002s, and they had a lot of engine troubles with them. They were, I think that's why they did that big recall on them, and they had like brand new ones in the junkyard on recall and stuff. I think they were lemons. I think somebody got the harebrained idea that at about 100,000 miles they could get the engine to fly apart because they used steel that's only good for around that mileage, or 120,000 or so, right in there. Then you're going to need a new motor. So they were working on that's what I think. Now, I don't know, you can call that what you want to, but you know how they test pop and everything, and they know how long it'll stay carbonated before it goes flat? Yeah, they did that. Because I used to work with that, Pepsi or Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all that stuff, and as an independent distributor of soda pop. And when they first started that Dayton pop stuff, you could get credit for it, and it'd go flat sometimes a day or two before the date. They had worked on timing that out so that went flat right on the date instead of staying carbonated. But I could remember when I had Coke and stuff like that, and that stuff stayed like darn near carbonated forever. It never went flat as long as you didn't open the bottle or nothing. Back when they had the 8-pack returnable bottles you got. I used to have a bottle of Coke for breakfast, and that's about all I'd have. Drink a bottle of Coke, and that's it, man. Back when I was young and stupider, I don't know, maybe sometimes I feel stupider now. Sometimes you don't feel like you gained too many smarts, but that's what I would do. But that stuff would last and last and last. It didn't have no date on it. Well, they started that dating stuff, and then it started going flat and everything. So I think they had that timed out. And then what happened, all of a sudden you couldn't get credit for flat pop anymore. They wouldn't take it back. And it was like, why won't they take it back? And then you started noticing that it was lasting way past the date. So they went ahead and upped the carbonation on it to make it last a couple weeks or longer after the date, or maybe it won't go flat at all as long as it don't get open. And that was that. So that was some conniving, scheming stuff going on there, man, trying to push their people to buy more pop, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why they would do that when it's just makes your product look bad is what it does, because it don't stay carbonated. And they started dating everything. And, oh man, it's just more ways to try to make money. Watched a video last night. Guy says there's only like 10 companies in the whole United States that run your food. So, and of course, food's got all kinds of toxins in it nowadays. So you want to get a good poisoning? Oh yeah, I like a good poisoning. All right, go get you some food. If you don't read your ingredients, Well, the only thing you do is start trying to grow your own. And I used to do that, but wasn't popular with the wife. She didn't like to mess with vegetables and stuff. So she's like, I could buy them at the store. I'm like, yeah, okay. So finally I give up the whole gardening business. But, oh well, you'll have that. Well, let me get off of here. I've done run me chops, 25 minutes. So talked about some of the stuff I was thinking about. So I don't know what my next project will involve. Hey, why don't you take a quick look at the snow out here while you're on here. Get this phone out here, and you can look out here and see our snow. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I guess if you're a penguin, right? If you're a penguin, it might be beautiful. All right, well, hey, everybody have a great day. I might shoot some other videos. I'll sit around the house. Maybe I'll get rambunctious. So we'll talk at you later. I hope you're enjoying your day. Get some coffee and a tasty pastry, huh? That's what I'm going to do. Get me some tasty pastry. Talk at you later.